on through the highways, and on we'll go.
Hello everyone and welcome to this video. So today I'm going to talk, or I guess discuss, the updated characters. They are such a controversial topic, and I honestly don't think that there has ever been one that has been as controversial, and I don't think there ever will be one because, I think the characters kind of represent ourselves and are, alongside with the horses, kind of the center of the game. It's something that you always look at while you play. It's a way of expressing yourself, so updating, or I guess not really updating, changing the characters is gonna be a really big deal. So yeah, I just thought that I would discuss the new characters in this video. So as always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, make sure to subscribe. It really means a lot. And now let's get into it. So if you don't know, a few days ago Starstable posted an official release date for the updated characters, which is June 20th. It's actually gonna be on Tuesday and not Wednesday. I'm not completely sure why that is, but it's probably to give SSO more leeway with all of the bugs that we're gonna get, because I can already imagine how broken the game's gonna be with the updated characters. I don't think I'm gonna express that much of my opinion on this topic because I'm gonna have a lot of posts from different people, their discussions, opinions, all of that, and I think they worded it really nicely, so I don't think there's much for me to add. But I wanted to talk about this because I think it's important to be able to have an open and constructive conversation about a topic that affects all of us, which is obviously the updated characters. And as I said in the beginning of the video, this is a massive change. We've been getting so many new things that have completely changed SSO on the inside and out. We've gotten the new horse progression system, the new UI, and now we're also going to get the new character model. So in just a couple of weeks, the game is gonna look completely different than it did, I don't know, like a month ago. So I think the outrage, the outbursts, and the criticism, the anger, sadness, all of that has just been all of this pent-up emotion that has just built up over the past few days, weeks, months, even years. And of course, I don't agree with people just hating, just saying that, the characters are, I don't know, disgusting, ugly. I think we should offer constructive criticism, but at the same time, I feel like I always say this, it is very hard to do this time and time again. Every week there's some new, like, almost game-breaking bug, and we have to so nicely tell SSO about it, because if you don't, it's gonna be a whole mess, and I think it just gets tiring. And honestly, I wouldn't be able to always be like, oh, I'm so sorry, but there's this, please, can you do something about it? I would just stop doing it. So in all honesty, I really appreciate people who, time and time again let SSO know about, the problems in the game, not even just in regards to gameplay, but also things like this. The people that do it constantly and in a constructive way, I think this is something really important. And again, I think this is just a very important conversation because, along with the post where they announced the release date of the characters, they also made a updated character generator on their website. The characters there looked very stiff, very weird. They didn't have any idle animations, they didn't blink. Their hands were like a little disconnected and positioned in this really stiff, I don't know, way. But they have changed it. I'm pretty sure they added more idle animations today. They added blinking, and oh my gosh, they changed their posture. Before they were standing like really a little awkwardly, but now they stand more straight up, which I think is a good thing. And obviously, in a way, SSO is listening, but it's not like this is some really big change. Also, I saw a video where SSO connected our eye, or I guess blinking animations with the head. So as you blink, your head also blinks, which is Very interesting. At the same time, SSO did kind of double down and reposted posts to their story of people, you know, creating their updated characters, which I don't think is necessarily bad. But when the majority of the community is telling you that they do not like the updated characters, you know, they have this and that problem, and you don't acknowledge it at all. I mean, I guess they did in the comment, but it's always like, oh, you know, this is not the final product, they're gonna get some tweaks. And this is also like not really a good excuse for me, because we are yet again getting an unfinished product, and I'm honestly so annoyed by it at this point, because, you know, SSO adds a new horse, a new function, a new feature to the game, and you criticize it, and then it's like, oh, you can't criticize it, it's not finished yet. Like, I don't even know what to say to that. It's really annoying, like, oh, they added the new UI, nobody likes it, but oh, you can't say anything, they're going to completely change it. Why add it to the game at that point at all? Another really big thing is, as I said before, a lot of people are giving really unconstructive criticism, just saying that the new characters look awful, disgusting, all of that stuff. But I feel like some members of the community have taken it the wrong way and are trying to say that anyone who criticizes the updated characters is, I don't know, fatphobic, racist, like doesn't appreciate SSO and should, I don't know, just quit if they don't like it. And I think that's such a weird argument. Obviously, there are, I don't even know how to say this in a nice way, really bad members in every community, but I think it's just best to ignore them. It's best to not interact with them. Like, I never really understood people who, I don't know, hate watch or engage in a conversation with someone who doesn't want to have a conversation. All you have to do is ignore them, and believe me, your day, your week, life is gonna be much better, because a lot of times people don't want to change their view. And I think it is really unfair to say that you can't criticize any aspect of the characters because, I don't know, they're not finished yet, and if you do, you are this and this and this. Nobody's telling SSO to take away some body shapes, skin colors, facial features. They actually want SSO to add more of them. For example, with the face shapes. The face shapes are all different, but with the different face shapes, you get different eye shapes and different nose shapes. Like, why are all of them connected? I mean, I guess I kind of get it. It's probably much easier than to add, you know, different nose options, different eye options, different shape options. But it's so weird, because why do they have to be connected? And for example, with body shapes, I haven't actually seen, I mean, I guess I'm not really on Instagram, so I'm sure there's been people that have said it, but overall, in regards to, you know, body shape, I don't think many people want SSO to take away body shapes. They want the team to add them. There's really just one a little more muscular body shape. There's two curvier body shapes, but they're a bit bigger. Then there's not that many slim options, and most people just don't feel represented. And in regards to skin colors, if anything, I've seen people want SSO to add more of them. I think the updated characters are obviously a big improvement from what we have now, and I don't actually hate them. I'd say I'm pretty neutral about them, but when you go and see what we could have had, it is very disheartening and very sad. And again, I think it's just so unfair to just cussing other people out, you know, just telling them to not play. It's so weird. Like, we should be able to have this conversation, and also to just tell people to shut up when the majority of the community has something, I don't know, I wouldn't even say negative, but some constructive criticism to say about the updated characters. It's really weird to spin it as this, like, oh, basically most of the community is this and this and this. Like, let's just have this open conversation, and let's just hope SSO changes some stuff, though I really honestly doubt they will, and if they will, it's gonna be something really small. I think it's way too late for them to change the body shapes, and I don't think the updated characters is something that they would be willing to postpone. If anything, I mean, I think they have been saying that they're going to, you know, add more body shapes, saying that this is not the final product, they will look completely different. But again, I just don't think, even if they do change them after we get them in game, I don't think the change is gonna be massive. Okay, wow, I said that I wouldn't really share any of my opinions, but I've been talking for the past 14 minutes. I really don't know how that's possible, but I've seen so many amazing posts about this topic, so I thought that I would just go over them because, as I said, I think people really articulated their thoughts and feelings nicely, so I really wanted to share all of it. And of course, you can be a part of this conversation in the comments. Let me know what you think about, what I said, what other people are saying, and just let me know your opinion on this topic overall. Most of the posts that I'm gonna talk about here are from Instagram, but there's also a few that are from Reddit. So yeah, let's just start. So anyway, this is the post by Eleanor Nightwalker. She said, many have commented how the proportions of the new SSO characters are off and make them look like children. This is not only because of the lack of post-pubertal feminine features on the smaller bodies, but the overall structure. People have pointed at the legs, the head, the waist, etc., but I think it's much simpler than that. Adults have wider shoulders than children. In this picture, the only difference between the characters are the shoulder width. The one on the left is the original, and the one on the right is with slightly widened shoulders. If Star Stable wants to promote realistic bodies, that would also include a realistic shoulder width. In fact, many women feel insecure about having wide shoulders because it makes them feel quote-unquote blocky. This is not the only one of the bodies that has too narrow shoulders, and this super minor adjustment would suddenly make the character look more her age and promote a realistic body. Side note, we're also in a dire need of a skinnier body present, as well as one small body with feminine features, because skinny people exist and skinny does not equal flat. This post was made by Clem's Art. New characters. I thought I'd try altering the character I made on Star Stable's website for a bit of fun. I'd also seen lots of creators editing and altering characters, so I thought I would too. I know there's been a lot of conflict with opinions on the new characters, so I just wanted to make it clear that this isn't to offend anyone and I'm not hating on any body types. My only concern with the new characters is that their bodies can come across as slightly childish. I'm not sure how to put it, but I get why SSO have made them the way they did. However, I think that there should be a more mature body type available to older players or anyone who wants one. Being an oldish player myself, I would like my character to have a more mature body type. I'm not hating on any body types by saying this, just personally it's how I feel and I would like this option. In conclusion, I'm excited to see these characters differ from our current ones in game. I will miss our characters a lot, but with an advancing game, I understand why new characters are needed to go with the more up-to-date graphics. I'm curious to see what alterations SSO will make to them and how they'll try to turn out in the future. This is the original character that this person created in Star Stable's updated character creator, and this is their version. They have more defined lashes, the character has smaller buttons on their shirt, they have a more mature body and raised jaw hoppers. I don't know how that's pronounced. And then you can see a side-by-side comparison of the two characters. On the left is before and on the right is after. And I know I said that I wouldn't really share my opinions, but I think on their own, Again, I'm really neutral about the updated characters. I don't hate them, I don't dislike them, but seeing how such small changes make the characters look so much better is just kind of sad, honestly. The next post is by Petra Darkbrook. I'm a little vulnerable here, but I decided to edit the character to look a little more like me IRL, as well as how I picture quote-unquote Petra. Things I changed: height, leg length, waist size / shape, hip shape, thigh size, slight smile, and smaller eyes. I think the knees need to come up a little, but I couldn't get it to look good, so I left them out. This next post is by Manya. She just posted a few slight edits. In the caption she said, "I need it, darling, what I want to see and what it will be like." And again, the changes really aren't that big, but the first picture just looks so much better.
Really just wanted to mention this, I guess. issue that I have with the new characters. Really thought they'd be better than this, and that we'd have way more customization options. Also, don't get me started on their bodies and the wacky proportions. Did some minor tweaking here, so my point is that there's not a whole lot that needs to change about the faces for them to feel less uncanny. IDK right now, when I look at them, they all have this odd expression, like they've seen some shit, haha. Edit. I also added some faint shading under the nose, as I felt the Cupid's bow made it look odd too. And as for the rest, I'm happy with them, especially the hairstyles. Those are all pretty nice. My issues with the new characters. We are billed like a door. It doesn't really represent female body types. Sure, not everyone has big hips, but you can at least tell the difference between waist and hips. The posture is unbalanced. Facial features are missing. The eyes are to plain white emo. Please keep in mind that this is just my personal criticism.
Some time ago me and my sister gave some feedback of the unfinished character models in SSO. Little has been done to improve the characters ever since, so here's some feedback again. I'm very disappointed on the SSO with this updated character appearance. I think the characters have weird proportions anatomically, which makes them all look awkward. They don't match the quality of NPCs either. Here's a slightly changed edit to visualize what could be done to make the characters look more decent. We made the torso shorter, tweaked the facial features, moved the chest area higher, fixed the helmet to sit properly, once again, and brought the legs closer together. This was the most important fix to remove the feeling that they have in their pants. Oh, and here's some other thing too. I think the faces especially have too few options to choose from. Even the fact that we cannot change facial features separately is absurd. Why almost every nose is a hook nose? Question mark. Sigh anyway. This is just our honest opinion, and I truly hope Star Stable Line would listen and make some improvements to the model that they have presumably and disappointedly just finished. Here's a part 2 for the earlier post about the new updated SSO characters. We made this edit to make a point that the thinner body types are not the only ones with the problems that we struggle with. The problem is in the poor understanding of the human anatomy and the way how they're standing, so it affects every single body type. Here we simply gave the characters some posture, straightened the legs and moved them closer together. Little tweaks on the hand positions. We definitely thought the character's head needs to have more occiput space and her eyes need to sit better in the eye sockets. Also, as Star Stable Line, why are you hating eyelashes with these new characters? I know some players wish to look more masculine, but are you really going to make more possibilities to masculinity by completely sacrificing femininity on the way? I hope this makes everyone see that the fixes we pointed out in our earlier post could benefit every single body type that they're offering. I'm posting about this frequently because I want to make as much noise as I can so that at Star Stable Line could hear the feedback and do something. Bit of a different post. If you can please tag at Star Stable Line. Star Stable, let's talk new characters. A lot of players are unhappy with this upcoming change, as they should rightfully, and here's why. The original base has a lot of ups and downs. Firstly, the characters have very bad posture, looks like a child and is not very inclusive. I've been seeing a lot of people complain about there being no smaller body types, which you seem to have forgotten about to implement larger body types, which is good and all, but let's make inclusive body types for smaller/thinner people. In the next couple of slides I have remade and re-edited to what I think should be added into the game. The things I have done to them is listed in the top right of the image. Now, I feel like this could be an absolute game changer because players will have more of a choice towards their new character when it comes to the time of the update, and I have also included 2 lighter skin colors since there isn't a very large choice of a lighter skin tone. With the simple adding of these things, your players will be much happier and much more inclusive towards players. However, a lot, and I mean a lot, of people have been talking about how we will look like toddlers and how young we look. Yes, your audience is to a younger side of things, but you have to think majority of the players have grown up now and are either teens or adults. Now, have a think. Would you rather have younger players with a more mature approach to their characters, or adult players with a younger, childish approach to their characters? I'll let you decide. That probably most of you have seen if you swipe to the last slide. There are a few comments and quotes I've pulled from people, really displaying how much people really don't want to look like toddlers. My take on it: star stable in line as new character update. I am fairly positive to the changes, but there are things that I think could be improved. YN agrees. I get that So is going for a child like a prince, but children still have some sort of shape to them even though they often lack boobs and hips. I think that these things should be available as choices though, because we are a lot of adults who enjoy this game after all. I also think that some of the shading in the face should be revisited and improved on. Lastly, I think that we need 3D lash options. It makes such a difference in feeling that the characters look pretty. The edits I made are not drastic changes, but they make a lot of impact. What do you think? We have to remember to keep in mind that this is only a sample of what is to come, not everything that is to be included as we were shown in the past. And SSO has confirmed that more body types, shapes will be added at a later time. So it isn't that surprising that not everyone has found their body type, shape and hair, let alone skin color, with how limited the sample was versus what we were shown in blogs. We have to be a bit realistic on the topic of the bodies, as one human body isn't the same as the next, making the process all the more difficult to please the audience. That said, we have to accept and be at peace with the idea that there won't always be your body type. That isn't to say you aren't valid at all for wanting to present yourself more closely or find your desired body type, shape, but let's not be so harsh when expressing that desire, especially when SSO has stated that more body types, shapes will be added later on. However, as for the models themselves, I absolutely don't like the samples we were given. It was once again at odd angles that presented the model awkwardly, just as they did with the Lipixoners in their spoiler. Though unlike them, there weren't many new animations to be seen aside from a single idle animation. I would have loved to see the animations they were working on, especially for the idle animations while we create a character, maybe even a blinking animation, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. As for the hands, not only do they detach when using long sleeves and even gloves, but they looked so clawed and stiff, like we're about to scratch someone. Continuing on about the bodies, when using the larger models, everything seems to clip into itself and the clothing to almost a severe amount, especially as said clothing have been fitted quite awkwardly on some models, making the clipping a bit worse. Overall, this is once again a failed attempt at an early showcase long before it's finished or was shown with more care. I really hope to see improvements and see these models be at their best, not halfway done. Very long comment talking about the changes I made. TLDR tried to make the model a bit more appealing while trying to stick to the intended art style. Kinda rushed and definitely still has a lot of mistakes, although I'm sure plenty of my changes are made impossible, difficult by technical limitations I don't know about. I wanted to at least try my hand at making some edits. Here's a few of the choices I made for her body. I made her taller, and adjusted her stance. I've made the position of her shoulders and hips uneven, and I shifted her weight to be on one leg, to better match how real people stand and to give her pose some life. I adjusted her body to represent a slimmer figure that isn't represented in any of the demo body types. I added definition to her arms. Her legs have a noticeable degree of definition, so I decided to make her arms look less soft and added definition to match the legs, although it was hastily done. Lol. Alongside the whole model, I adjusted her face specifically as well. First, I removed a lot of the definition in the skin around her nose and mouth. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely think portraying women with realistic facial features instead of making them all airbrushed models is important and something I want to see more of. However, pairing that kind of realistic definition with giant cartoony eyes ends up looking uncanny valley and weird. I chose to bring things more in line with a stylized route, since I don't think this game would benefit from realistic textures. I attempted to make her eyes look less dead. This included upping the saturation and darkening the values a bit, and making the highlight smaller. I also increased the space between her eyes, they were just way too close together, and widened them a touch, and brought her irises closer to the center of her face a teeny bit. Finally, I extended her eyeliner down her waterline a bit to define her lower lid. I saturated her face a teeny bit, and added some redness around her nose and eyes to make her look a bit livelier. I thought it was weird how her hair was so stylized, but her eyebrows were pasted on realistic looking textures. So I tried to match them to the style of the hair. Finally, from what I remember, I made some adjustments to her lips, including darkening the shadow on her upper lip and making her lips less thin. Admittedly, she looks like she's wearing way more makeup than she was when I started, and I should have tried to avoid that tbh. I seen someone else edit their character. I wanted to do the same minimal editing to my character and my wife's character to make them as true to the original. As a base, I realize these new models are not horrible at all, but it's a shame they looked as if the artist has never bothered to look at basic anatomy of a young woman in the first place. Honestly, this only took a few minutes in a mobile editing software, but I think they really missed the mark. The main proportions that are ridiculously off is how short the legs are. My second biggest criticism is the eye size, pupil size and overall shape. The more I looked at these new characters, the more I realized they're not bad and have potential, but their proportions are seriously off. I find the faces I updated look a bit more natural as well. The original ones look tired, bored, mostly making the eyes thinner and smaller pupils. And my final word is, see how the body looks on both characters? They are not insanely thin or unrealistic body types. That's my body type, and I just can't see why SSO failed to account for these thinner figures while they spent so much attention on bigger body shapes which look quite good too. It's a bit of a fail to claim to be inclusive for refrain from adding thin body types. I made the overall body a bit taller to make room for longer legs, as the original ones were quite short. Then I stretched the arms and legs to appear longer and squished the torso to make it shorter because the original one was too long and didn't leave enough space for the legs. As for the head and neck, I made the neck attach shorter and the head overall much smaller. I sadly ended up warping the face too much and removed the square shape.